Hi, I'm Burke Franklin, and this is Robert Browning. We're two of the members from the Prepping for the Sharks team, and find ourselves having some conversations and talking off the cuff about stuff. We thought we should record some conversations that we're actually serious about, and we thought you would benefit from listening to them. So, Robert, what would you say about that?
Yeah, it's just that, you know, top of mind, what are the things that can help businesses the most and can improve their odds for success in the shark infested waters of the world? And so we've been going through topics, and it's fascinating that when our team gets together, whether it's Burke and I, that we come up with some worthwhile things since we've been at this a while. So,
When you asked me this morning, you said, "Well, can we talk about some chapter from your book?" I'm thinking,
right,
okay, the book is this, it's Business Black Belt. And the reason what about Business Black Belt really is about is I've done about 40 years worth of so-called awareness and consciousness workshops and stuff. And when I started my business, I'd already taken probably 10 years worth. And I learned a lot of really interesting things. It's well, kind of Northern California woo-woo, but translated from woo-woo into practical reality. It was my thing. So I thought, okay, so here I am building this business. I should apply the principles that I've learned in these workshops. And that's really what Business Black Belt's about. But it's called Business Black Belt because at the same time I started, well, now Business Power Tools, but the company was called Gian back in the day, Jian, which was it was a Zen word that meant the master of every art, as like the opposite of the jack of all
right.
trades and master of none. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to apply what I learned in the workshops to building my business, and it worked. And so in Business Black Belt, I describe or to talk about here's the woo-woo concept, and here's how it worked, and here's how I actually used it, and how it succeeded in business. And so here's what the book looks like. You can get it at businessblackbelt.com. In fact, anyway, so do you have a question, Robert?
Yeah, it's just it's been a while. And we had talked about Michael E. Gerber, who our team member Fred Parrish has a book out with. Um, and the whole thing is from uh, the original book to now, like when Gerber did his revisited book, because you've had yours out for a while. So we're revisiting these things now as time has elapsed and we're farther down our trail. And you had some key points in there. It's a great book. Um, but when we're revisiting it, what's changed? What's new and what's the same?
Well, I thought when you asked me that question, like, pick a chapter, let's talk about it. I immediately thought of the very end of the book. And I think of, and it's organized in like steps, like when you go take martial arts training, you'll start out with a white belt and then you get a yellow belt, depending on the system you're in. But typically, like mine was, a yellow belt, orange belt, green belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, red belt, then black belt. That's the way that one went. Some are simpler than that. I mean, the original black belt came from, way back in the day. You got a white sash of some kind of white belt, and you just never washed it, and it just got dirtier and dirtier and dirtier and turned black. So that's my understanding of how a black belt came
Really?
to be. But to really gamify martial arts training and have kids do it, everybody gets a new color belt. So now I've got my yellow belt. Yay. Now I'm going to go get my green belt or my orange belt, so you're always working towards the next belt. And I think like geometrically more difficult as you move up that ladder. But anyway, so I was thinking about the black belt test because what they say is like, by the time you're a black belt, you're taking the test, you're already a black belt. But there's a test. And so the test is kind of like the ritual. It's kind of like your driving test. You learned how to drive. Now prove to somebody that you know how to drive. Just like with my flying tests, got to fly with an FAA examiner and they'll kill the engine on you to see if you can still fly the plane and know what to do. So they put you through all the paces to make sure you really fully understand it. And so anyway, what I got to is the black belt test at the end of the book, and I describe that in business. And I put together, 20 reasons why people succeed in business. And at the same time, at the very end, I was speaking to a group of entrepreneurs at the University of California in Santa Barbara, an entrepreneurship class. And I asked them, what do you think it takes to be successful in business? And their ideas were, well, you need an idea, you need perseverance, talent, a team, customers, luck, money, and that's basically what's called creative in business by having all those. So that's where I was going to start there first.
How would you relate to the word mastery? Because a lot of courses, they take you through different steps, but usually the most involved, most complete one, it's a master's class or a mastery level. Is that synonymous to some of what you're talking about? Or
Well, I see these things called master classes. And most of them I laugh at because really a master class is you're already, like, for example, there are a number of martial arts master classes that really you have to be a black belt to even take the class. So as a friend of mine, I told a friend, I said, yeah, he's been a black belt a long time. I said, yeah, I got my black belt. Yeah. And he goes, hey, congratulations. You've demonstrated an interest in the martial arts. I thought, man, after
yeah,
the
right.
beating I took to get there from here, wow. Okay. But yeah, that's really quite true. You've demonstrated an interest. And so here you are, you've worked out probably 4 years. I forget how long it took me, probably about 4.5 years, I guess, to get to black belt, going probably 2 or 3 times a week and getting knocked down and getting up. You have to keep doing that. Anyway, it yeah, mastery. They throw around the word master class a lot, but a master class really is taught by a master. There's a TV series called Master Class, which has got a lot of really brilliant people telling you what they do. Gordon Ramsay's teaching knife sharpening skills, among other things. That's just at the beginning. Got to do this first. And so, but it's really for people who already have attained a level of mastery who would like to learn from another master to expand their mastery of a subject. So mastery is one of those things that's it's ongoing. You become a master, but a master is someone who's always looking, learning, trying to do it better, looking for other ways of doing things. So that's really what I think a master class is. Is this a master class? Maybe, but at the same time, I want to talk about some basics that. I remember John Wooden from UCLA basketball. He'd start out basketball season with the teams. Okay, guys, we're going to learn how to tie your shoes.
Yeah,
Vince Lombardi would hold up a football and say, "Gentlemen, this is a football." And so that's
yeah. Back
sometimes
to
you have to
basics.
start right remind people of the basics, and that's really what a lot of this I would say is. And if you want to say something about that, I'll find my place in the book here before I want
Yeah.
to start
If
sharing some of this with you. It's a
can I
very,
sneak
very
in
short
and
chapter.
one more thing? I think I've heard stories about the grandmasters, martial arts. I've been interested in those things for years. And but when a grandmaster discovers something he needs to improve or she needs to improve, they would celebrate that in a way.
Like, wow, something new,
Oh, like, wow, I have room for improvement. I'm going to celebrate that because as much as I know all these other things, I've discovered there's just like famous fighters that were in today's contemporary martial arts, competitions. They're kicking butt, taking one, and then somebody comes along and discovers a weakness, and ba-boom,
Yeah.
they're like starting all over again.
Well, I discovered something the other night. I had this revelation. I was thinking about an argument, for example. You
Right.
see something one way, I see it some other way. We're going to argue about it. And really, probably the quickest way to end an argument would be the realization that, oh, what I'm hearing I'm getting is another perspective. So I got my perspective, you got your perspective. We could argue all day long about my perspective or your perspective, or I could say, let me see if I can understand your perspective. Now, just because I'm willing to listen to you explain your perspective or see it through your eyes or walk a mile in your shoes doesn't mean I have to agree with you, but at least for my own sake, like, okay, let me at least understand your side of this thing. Because I could maybe be swayed. I think you're right. Or there is no right or wrong or right way, but it's just, okay, now I've got two perspectives of it. And then a third person will come along. I've got a third perspective. Pretty soon you got a whole bunch of perspectives. And they say an intelligent person can hold two opposing thoughts in mind at the same time. And I'm thinking, only two? But anyway, so I was going to get into this. I was, like I said, I was speaking to this entrepreneurship class at the University of California, and they said all these things. And I realized all those words they use, like, you've got to have an idea and perseverance, were what it looks like from the outside in. So if you see somebody successful, well, that's what they did. This is, and that's what it looks like. And that's really what everybody talks about. And what I wanted to do was, and what I wrote about was, those words describe what success looks like from the outside in. How might you take what each of these words embodies and implant it into your psyche to function day in and day out with them as part of your own internal operating system? And someday, and people will someday say that you had a good idea, built a team, had talent, enjoyed some luck, persevered, had many customers, used creativity, and made a ton of money. But let's look at this through what I call the other end of the telescope. And so, for example, it looks like an idea from the outside looking in, but from the inside looking out, you had a problem, solved it for yourself or maybe somebody else, and then created a product or service others could use to solve their similar problem. Next thing is it looks like perseverance from the outside looking in. But from the inside looking out, you are possessed with the notion that there has to be a way to make this thing work. There is a way. You may not know it yet, but you're going to do it no matter what. Next, it looks like talent from the outside looking in. But from the inside looking out, you've been learning, making mistakes, sorting out what works from what doesn't, learning from your successes, practicing and perfecting your skills. That's where the talent comes from. Next, it looks like a team from the outside looking in, but from the inside looking out, you figured out what talent you bring to your business, organized what needs doing, identified the additional skill sets needed, and hired the people that combine to form a productive company culture.
I like that perspective.
What were you going to say?
I like that perspective of reversing the telescope thing.
Yeah, everything was really small at that point. It's kind of weird. Anyway, they look like customers from the outside looking in, but from the inside looking out, enough people you can reach have a problem or an interest or a goal they want to achieve. You've developed a unique and or better way to give them what they want and need and manage to contact them with a compelling offer. That's how you get customers. All right, it looks like luck from the outside looking in. This is always a good one. But from the inside looking out, well, preparation meets opportunity. When you can apply your background, interests, skills, and vision to the solution of a problem, you know who else has the problem, and you maintain the right people around you to help. So-called luck can be created. And it looks like money from the outside looking in. But from the inside looking out, what do you need money for? What if you could do whatever or get whatever you want without cash? For example, we had a customer who used the Biz Plan Builder to write a plan to convince a man who owned 2 Learjets to give our customer the 2 jets for his jet charter service. 2 Learjets, no money. Pretty good deal, I thought. I'm jealous. Anyway, so for what if you could have whatever you wanted without cash? What can you trade? When I first ran my advertisements, I convinced a couple of magazines to give me credit. That way I could pay for my ad after I sold my products. That was much easier back in the day, but it's much easier than finding money first, then to pay for the ads. Because it's, when you find that we have to find money first to buy the thing, it's really a 2-stage process. And the money coming in is like, what are you going to do with it? And this is what we write the business plan builder for. The business plan for is you're really convincing investors that, you're a good bet and to give you money to do this business. And I was saying to some people that really, there's a lot of money at stake. Details matter. And they really want to know. And the investors are often looking at, they've got a handful to 100 other opportunities looking at. So why your product or service? Why now? And why from you? And really the why from you part is the crucial bit, because, and I think a lot of people, they try to either hide behind something or not hide behind, but I'm just like, not be the person. Like, I've got the business. I did this for a long time too. And realize, wait, no, I need to take myself out from behind the business and go, hi, it's me. The investors are betting on the jockey, not the horse. We talked about this in a previous video. So you really need to have all of these concepts embodied in you, because the investors are betting on your judgment. You're going to be the one who takes their money and does something more interesting with it to make them that return. So that's something certainly to keep in mind.
And like you, I've been doing martial arts for a long time. In my case, it's been Tai Chi Chuan. And my teacher used to say, don't compare schools and say ours is the better, ours is, just sit, be humble, listen, and learn, was what he would say.
You learned martial arts the hard way too. I mean, you were scrapping in Chicago as a kid, so I mean,
that's a different kind of thing, but yeah,
it's got a motivation right there. But yeah, that gets your attention.
I'll tell you what, taking wrestling in elementary school and being on the team in high school did give you an edge, a bit of one. But the in Japan, and this was a Wayne Dyer thing, he talked about muga, which is empty cup, and it gets to that whole professor interviewing the guru guy, and he's listening to him and talking, and he's now pouring him a cup of tea. It's going in the saucer on the table. He goes, "Hey, what's going on here?" He goes, "You are like this cup. You have no room to add anything new, and that's the Muga thing." So I think in a way it's related of having an open mind and both look at the bottom line, the top line, and your purpose in life. And somehow, hopefully, there's some alignment. Because what if you got all this success, but you lost everything else, like your family, your kids don't talk to you? It's a life balance thing too, isn't that some of your book is
Well, I don't
success
get the
and life
life
balance?
balance. I don't get into life balance. I've read conflicting articles talking about work-life balance, and sometimes people tell you in a startup, forget the work-life balance. If you've got a family, you need a family who understands
Yeah,
you are possessed. You're obsessed with this because it's going to take a lot to make it happen. And there's going to be times when, you know, every day I want to quit, or I can't do this, or there's something horrifically wrong, and it's ongoing.
right.
But that's kind of the challenge. I think that's in a way, I talk about karma in here and a number of other things in the book, but really some of it is a karmic challenge. I think that your business in a way is your dojo to help you work out, if you will, some of these I would say karmic challenges, if you will. At the same time, I started my business. I called it making karma payments because I thought I didn't know, I was between jobs. I didn't know what to do. I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I need to make some money to pay rent. And I thought I'm just going to help people, just help people with their businesses. I wrote copy for them. I helped with the data sheets. I'd sold electronics for Texas Instruments, so I knew that business. I'd worked for the Sharper Image catalog as a electronics buyer. And then they moved me over to the art department to write copy for the catalog, where I discovered a word processor. If you know what a word processor is, it's basically, I was talking to some students and I go, what the hell is a word processor? Well, that was something in the mid 80s where it's kind of when
Right.
typewriters were turning into computers, and it was a typewriter with a screen on it. It looked like a piece of paper coming up. It was really kind of cool, actually. And it worked really well. And I sold those to enterprises. But then, of course, PCs and Macs came along and displaced those. But there I was thinking, okay, now what? And so I helped people with data sheets, business cards. I helped a guy with a catalog, and that's where a friend of mine came along and said, "Hey, I got a deal going with Apple. They want to buy my software engineering product, and they wanted to see a business plan because the SBA had done a study of 26,000 businesses that failed and they wanted to see his plan to make sure he was going to stay in business to develop and support the product." So that's where that all started.
I think we can learn a lot from farmers too, the whole idea of sowing and reaping. And hey, when it's harvest time, like you talked about, life balances goes out the window. You got to get out there and get the harvest in before the heavy frost is going to hit it. It's uh, that's the nature of business at times. It's like, honey,
That's the nature of nature. It's the sun sets when it does. The rain comes when it does. The frost comes when it does, and you need to work with it.
exactly. And that whole purpose and meaning thing. I mean, that's how I became an entrepreneur because I was working for GE, and I felt no purpose and meaning in being in their world, and mine was spurred on by a near death experience. But uh, many times taking the entrepreneurial road is not the easy road. You know,
No, you're going to quit your corporate job. You're definitely jumping out of the pan into the fire, which I would even say that I've had a number of people use Biz Plan Builder for that, is to figure, okay, I'm going to do this. What what am I doing here? How's this going to go? Because you need to hit the ground running, and you might even find some money or figure out what you can do with. I think there's a lot of things you can do without money, quite frankly, with your business. A lot of people, they wait. I've got to get money. I can't do it. I can't start my business without money. Yeah, you can, and there's a lot you can do. We talk about that, but anyway. That's another conversation here. We should talk
it
about
is.
what can you do to start your business without money? Because the more you can do, the more investors will be impressed. Like, okay, if you can get that far without any money, what could you do with some? So, and some people, they raise too much money, then you kind of get this. I don't know who said it. I'll call it the drunken sailor syndrome. I got all this cash,
Right.
I'm going to spend it. you really have to have discipline if you're going to have some money on you to and not spend it because it's real easy.
Yeah, that's right. And $1 million you can go through that pretty quickly if you're building a business, especially if some technology is involved.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And
Well,
and
anyways,
you know
that's
that
really
lesson.
is that enough for our show for today, Robert? I think I want to let people go
Yeah,
here. It's
I think
we've
it's
got made our
good.
point.
We just want to stimulate thinking and bring up different examples, and you wrote a whole book about it, and you're revisiting some of those thoughts now. How long has it been since the book came out?
Well, I originally wrote it back in '97. Then I revised it in 2018, and it's now that there's a PDF version on my website at Business Power
Okay.
Tools or businesspowertools.com, also at businessblackbelt.com. I'll take you to the same pages. But anyway, I've revised it, added things to it. Some, I read through it. It still all applies. It's just the only thing that might be dated would be some of the examples. Like if I talk about a word processor, like what the hell is
So
that?
so
You know?
that's free on your website to download your book?
Yeah, yeah. It's available on Amazon as well, but you can get down just I get the PDF and read it. I mean, it's that's the thing. There's a lot to it in there, and so again, it's woo-woo translated into practical business reality as I see it, and it's the stuff that worked. It's stuff that you wouldn't ordinarily think of doing. And so
Could you repeat that one more time so anyone listening to this can just go there and take
sure,
advantage of that?
businessblackbelt.com, as in you'll see this picture, businessblackbelt.com, and I'll hold it up in front of the sharks. And
That's right.
so, yeah, you just grab it and read it. And so I think it's good stuff. And there's Business Power Tools is what I've got for all the software products. We're finding that a number of business owners are using it to prepare for selling their business. That's really a big deal these days. And so you
It
need to have a
is.
business plan because the new person buying it wants to know what'd you do? How's this thing work? It's the kind of like the owner's manual. So there's that's a crucial thing to have. And business brokers tell me that most businesses, unfortunately, are not sellable or they're a train wreck behind the scenes. And so we have tools to fix that and especially get the entrepreneur, the owner, in the right mindset to really explain this thing to somebody who wants to buy it and really give a show and really build a value. It's really validates the value or to maximize the value of your business because you really this is it.
That's a
This is
big
your
word.
retirement. This is the big moment you've been waiting for all your life. You've been building toward this moment to cash out and ride off into the sunset. And so this is crucial for you. And for a startup person, they're thinking like, what am I going to do? The details matter. It's a lot of money you're asking an investor for. And they want details. In fact, every investor I keep asking is, well, do you read business plans? Because I hear that people don't read business plans because a lot of people like to say no one wants to read them. That's BS. The investors, but at some point, and maybe not in the first pitch deck, they want to believe that you've got something and they'll listen to your pitch and ask you some questions. At some point, before they write you a check, they're going to want to read your business plan because what's consistently I hear from them is, I want to know what you know. I want to understand how you think. And that's what the investors want to know because they're betting on you. They want to know, and more often than not, they know more about your industry than you do because they've invested in companies in your industry and they've seen stuff go wrong. And so they want to know what you know to be sure that you really have your act together. And and they're betting on the jockey, not the horse. And so, as you know, horse races, I'll say this over and over, horse races are won by a nose, and that photo finish. And so it could be you competing with somebody else, maybe a similar business, maybe something else entirely that the investor's looking at. But in that investor's mind, it's like, this guy or that guy, which one of these people should I go with? What should I do? You
And
know,
they look at the top line and the bottom line, not only the numbers, they're looking at all the who's your team, all these other factors,
all of it.
what's your gifts, what's your brilliance, and what team have you brought in that can do the things you're not great at, all that, right?
Everything counts. I think everything counts. And like you saw in the Olympics, the difference between gold and silver can be as little as a hundredth of a second. So details matter. I say it over and over again. People, I don't want to know details. Yeah, well, too bad. You details, and it all counts. So, and also the details in how you present yourself. If you come off really, I'm always put off by these guys who are so cocksure. Oh yeah, we're gonna do this. It's gonna happen. And I'm thinking, I've always those have always disturbed me. I want someone who's. I mean, imagine some doctor comes into your hospital room. You need brain surgery. Oh yeah, I'll fix that up. I'll be this is fastest brain surgery you ever had. I'd be worried. I'd be thinking, I don't
Yeah,
want some guy who's done, or some woman who's done, 10,000 of these who come in and say, I've done 10,000 of these. You're going to be my 10,003rd or fourth, whatever it is. And I've seen your scans. I got a good idea what's going on with you. Here's what we're going to do. But I really not going to know until I get in there. But, I've done this a million times. And so I think you're a really good bet. I would
yeah,
feel a lot more comfortable with that person because they're a little more humble in their approach, yet they're highly competent at what they do. It's kind of like there's the thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's kind of like teenagers have all the answers. That's the people who are least competent. It's like when you get your white belt, then you get your yellow belt, and now you think you're some kind of badass. You're a yellow belt. You're not a badass. You can barely learn how to fall. And so, and then by the time you get your black belt, I tell people, kind of humorously, yeah, it's an enlightened sense of when to run because you have a black belt. You look around, you go, you can kind of spot who the people are who are probably the good fighters that you don't want to mess with. And so, but black belt is something that you ordinarily would keep to yourself. It's kind of like your hidden little, your concealed weapon, if you will. But nevertheless, the black belt has a sense of, I don't think I want to get into that fight. In fact, every black belt I know is the most mellowest person in the world. It's like, and I would say I'm too
yeah.
old for this, So there
More
you go.
more golden puzzle pieces that we can exchange with each other that give us a clearer picture and road to success is how I like to think of it. So we shared a few more. Thanks. It's appreciative. Love hearing about. Love revisiting your Burke. Burke. That's one of the first things I read when you had your early version. So
Well, thanks for bringing it up. It's
yeah,
always fun to talk about because it's good stuff to share. So anyway, you guys hit the button for prepping for the sharks. Come to preppingforthesharks.com. Join us. We have some kind of these videos are on here, but we have some kind of show every week where we're bringing on people who've got a business idea and we want to help them. It's not like Shark Tank. We're not related to the Shark Tank at all, but we appreciate the show. And I just feel like if I was on the Shark Tank, I would be that guy going, hey, you need to fix this, do this, make that better, tell them like this, and don't take that guy's deal or take this deal or here's a better deal to do, something like that. I would be helping you make a better deal, make a better presentation, whatever that takes. It's all about kind of it's looking at the Shark Tank through the other end of the telescope is really that's what's called prepping for the sharks. And I believe that Fred came up with this name even before the Shark Tank show was a thing. So it goes
had
way
it for a
back.
while.
And
Yeah,
so it started out
yeah,
as a lunch meeting in Dallas, and now it's turned into an online show.
yeah.
So that's
Networking, and that's going to grow here too. So welcome to preppingforthesharks.com. We're letting people join for free for a time, and there's a lot of value. And every single week, we're creating more content for you. So we look forward to sharing value and increasing your chance for success. So thanks.
nice. See you there.